Hi everyone. Um, so for those who are here for the first time, my name is PJ. Today we're talking about the third and fourth noble truth, which I like to call it the how to be happy part of the four noble truths. So as usual, I'll start by just reading some sutta extracts. I apologize I haven't put these on the Facebook group because there are quite a few small ones. And as I go along then I'll just share stories where appropriate. So this is Samyutta Nikaya 56.11. And the third noble truth for this refresher, so the last week we actually covered the first and second noble truth. And we also talked very briefly about the four noble truths and what the Buddha said should be done about the four noble truths. So the first noble truth, to recap, the fact of suffering, the Buddha said that first noble truth of the fact of suffering is to be fully understood. The second noble truth, the cause of the suffering, that you want something, you crave something, the second noble truth is to be fully abandoned. The third noble truth, which we're going to talk about, of cessation, is to be fully realized. And the fourth noble truth, the Eightfold Path, is to be developed. So these are just a recap of what we covered last week. So now we're talking about the third noble truth of cessation. Why is it important to disappear, right? And I think that when people hear the word cessation, or they hear like, oh, Nibbana, and Nirvana means to be extinguished, right? There's a certain fear that arises because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to disappear, which is true, but there is also the flip side of when your self disappears, actually a whole lot of suffering disappears. Yeah. So I'll just talk about this sutta first. So what is this noble truth of the cessation of suffering? Right? And this is what the Buddha says. Now, this is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. It is the remainderless fading away and cessation of that same wanting, which is wanting related to the five senses, wanting for existence, wanting for annihilation, meaning that you want to actually disappear. It's the giving up, relinquishing of it, freedom from it, never letting it settle. So what does this mean? It means that when you actually realize this noble truth, right, of the complete cessation, right, we are fully extinguished, so to speak, right, actually there's no remainder, right, meaning that you actually not be reborn into this samsara existence, right. And it is actually the ceasing, right, of this wanting, the three kinds of wanting that there are. So the wanting of anything to do with the five sense world, the wanting for existence, which is actually it's a very fundamental wanting, right? A very fundamental craving that you only experience it either in deep states of meditation when the five senses start to completely disappear, and then you see that for the first time, and that fear arises, right, because of that wanting to exist, right? So that's one way to experience it. The other way that you experience this wanting to exist is when you have that fear of death. When you experience a near-death experience, for example, when almost experience a car crash. Like I was telling my wife, I think it was yesterday, right? I almost got a car crash. So the Grab car driver we're just like chatting, and all of a sudden, this car from our left literally just came literally the car was only about like this far away from where I was and the passengers. The car was maybe this far away. And the car was coming in, my driver just jammed the brakes and he just stopped, right? And the other car just swerved and avoided us just in the nick of time. And my driver was then saying, he's like, whoa, like goosebumps, the hairs are standing all over. And that's actually the fear that's associated, right, from the wanting to exist. Alright, so that's the second kind of wanting. The third kind of wanting, right, the wanting to... Yes?
Well, when you mentioned near-death experience, right, this is an example, right?
Yes.
In most of the cases of near-death, people who experience near-death experience,
yes,
come back, they are not fearful of death.
They are not what?
Fearful of death anymore.
Depends on the person.
Most cases.
Yeah, so when I talk about near-death experience in this case, I'm not talking about that class of near-death experience that you might be referring to. But I think you're talking about those people who they've been on the operating table, they've got out the body, right? So that kind of near-death experience is different from what I'm talking about, where you're actually in your five senses, right? Like say that you're driving right now and then suddenly you're about to experience a car crash, right? Or if say that your six senses, right, are still very much within the five sense body realm. So that's actually what I mean by that. But it's a very good question. We can talk a little bit more about that in a bit. Yeah. And then the one thing for annihilation, right, is actually a very subtle one thing. And that's actually when people have that desire to not exist. It can be in the form of suicidal thoughts, but it can also, if you progress along the path, right, when you experience a certain joy of like letting go of yourself, when you experience, for example, like some of the five jhanas, for example, right, and then you start to develop this very strong desire, the four jhanas, so the five jhanas, you start to experience this very strong desire to want to like disappear, or you want to like let go. And that one thing, I think that Ajahn Brahm discussed it best, right? He used a parallel from Oliver Twist. So Charles Dickens wrote in Oliver Twist, like this man saying that it's like a man wanting to eat his own head. Right? You can't eat your own head because your mouth is part of your own head. Right? You can eat your own arm, but you can eat your own head. And that one thing to not exist is exactly that. That one thing is exactly what stops you from actually like disappearing to begin with. Right? So that's actually three kinds of one thing. And when we talk about the third noble truth, right, it's a very permanent form of like relinquishing of it. Right? Meaning that you completely let go of it, right? Such that when you read about the lives of the enlightened beings, right, or even some of the anagamis, or the non-returners, right, who are lay persons. So for example, there was this lay person, lay disciple who was a female, and she was a mother. And in one of the short suttas, one of the enlightened arahants asked her, like, so what is that? She was talking about the joy of following the Dharma, and she talked about how she was able to get into the four jhanas at will, and how she was able to actually see her own son getting killed in front of her, and not have even the slightest bit of ill will arising for the person who killed her son. Right. So when we talk about cessation, right, we're talking actually of even more than that. That's already a very good, very extreme form of like letting go, right? But this is even beyond that, because we're talking about full enlightenment. When the Buddha talks about this, I feel very much, he talks in terms of absolutes, right? So this is the kind of like very permanent letting go and cessation of its one thing. So if I were to move on to the next sutta, what happens, right, when you let go of that one thing, right? And this is what the Buddha says. This is Anguttara Nikaya, Book of Sixes, the 55th Sutta. If one is intent on the end of one thing and clarity of mind, when one sees the senses arising, one's mind is completely free from desire. For one of peaceful mind, one completely liberated, there's nothing further to be done. There's no need to increase what has been done. So this is actually what I was talking about. When the Buddha talks about the cessation of the one thing, he's talking about actually the complete removal, like the Chinese proverb of like, when you cut the grass, you also remove the roots of it. And this is actually what the Buddha is talking about. And then this is a beautiful simile. The Buddha then says, as a stone mountain, one solid mass is not stirred by the wind, so no sights, sounds, odors, tastes, touches, or mind objects, desirable or undesirable, will stir the stability of the mind. This mind, one that's actually free of that one thing, right, is steady and free, and you witness the vanishing of the mind. So, just to pause here, it's a very important simile, because like what the Buddha is saying is that when you truly realize this third noble truth, right, your mind is like a mountain, it's completely unmoved. When you have any of these like five senses, right, whether is it like pleasant, so if you think now about the most enjoyable experience that you might have ever experienced in life, right, if that experience comes through and goes through your mind, right, when you're fully enlightened, right, it doesn't affect you at all. It's like a wind going past the mountain, and it doesn't move the whole mountain at all, right? And if it's something that's extremely undesirable, like extreme severe pain, right, like the way that the Buddha described his, the way that the Mahaparari Nibbana Sutta was talking about the Buddha's passing, how his body was racked with the pains of dysentery. And for anybody who's ever experienced like severe food poisoning, right, or if you have irritable bowel syndrome, eat too much spicy food, you know that kind of like severe pain, right? That kind of pain and undesirable feeling, right, doesn't affect the mind at all. The mind is completely not affected by this. So this is actually the kind of ultimate bliss that the Buddhas are talking about. And if I were to just take a pause here, right, why is this desirable? If you just take a moment to just reflect back and think about your own past life, right? Your own life, sorry, not past life, in your own like life experiences so far. Think about the most happy experience that you ever had. And you think about the most miserable experience that you ever had. In many ways, happiness is just the interval between moments of suffering. Right? The reason why you're happy oftentimes is because that some suffering has been lifted away from you. It can be a suffering that's caused because that you desire something. You desire it so badly. When you finally get it, actually what happens is that, it's a bit like when you are very thirsty and you have that first sip of water. It's so enjoyable. But why is it so enjoyable? It's because you're suffering just before. And the suffering is going to come back after that. When you experience like the pleasure of like eating food for the first time, why is it so enjoyable? It's because you probably the desire to that thirst, right, for that experience, right, is so strong before that when you have it, it's like drinking water when you're completely thirsty, right? And that is the reason why that the Buddha says that actually hunger is one of the greatest sufferings, because it can never be sated. You can only momentarily park it aside, but after that, it will still come back. Nobody can say that I eat for 3 months. I was just joking with Ajahn Brahm during the Bukit retreat. Right? We were talking about how the monastics they have this rule, all the Theravada monastics, they have this rule that they have to have their meal of the day before the solar noon. So I asked Ajahn Brahm, what happens if a Norwegian monk like Ajahn Brahmali, right, goes back home to Norway in the summer months and the sun doesn't set. So Ajahn Brahm was joking that you can eat for 3 months and then he's going to starve for 3 months. But the body doesn't work that way, right? So what happens is that when you eat, and then before you know it, like that craving for food comes back again. It's just the nature of existence, right? And what the Buddha is talking about is actually that this one thing, right, this desire for whatever it is, whether it's like anything to do with the 5 senses, right, or anything to do with this annihilation, or anything to do with this like wanting to exist, right? It's just suffering actually. And once you're able to let go of it, that is actually the ultimate pleasure. Because when you are free from pleasure, we are free from this like suffering, that's actually the ultimate pleasure. Now, I must also caveat here that when you read the other suttas, right, the Buddha talks about this in stages. And you will often come across this term called the gradual training. The Buddha talks about first how you first perfect your ethics, right? You don't kill, you keep the 5 precepts and all that. Then you start doing like practices like you will, if you are a monastic, you will refrain from even more than 5 precepts. Right? You would also start to perfect your thoughts. You start to watch your thoughts and to actually restrain the senses. Right? And then that will gradually go along the Eightfold Path until you actually start to do the meditation practices. And then you experience the first jhana and so forth. And then you experience the jhanas, right? With the jhanas, the first jhana, you experience extreme ecstasy, because that's the extreme joy that comes from the release of the 5 senses. And the Buddha describes it as the ending of the world as you know it, because that's we experience the world inevitably through our 5 senses every single day. it's only with the first jhana that you realize that actually the five sense world, anything to do with it, is just suffering. And it's actually much more better to just let go of it altogether. And what happens is you experience this like ultimate bliss, right? And then when you go into the second jhana, this is from the description of various teachers and what the Buddha wrote. You will experience actually that your will has disappeared. And the disappearance of the will, right, is extremely pleasurable. It's even more refined and you're like, wow, this is actually even more fantastic. Then you experience the third jhana, and then that is actually when you experience something very interesting. There's this phrase called piti sukha in Pali. Piti is actually like the rapture, the joy. Sukha is just happiness. And this is actually when you experience that, oh, this more excitable part of what we call like happiness, right, disappears. There's something that's even more refined, that's even more enjoyable. Actually, this is way nicer and more blissful. And that is actually the sukha, and that is what you experience in the third jhana. Then the fourth jhana is when even that sukha will fade away. It's a state where you experience just like pure equanimity. And this is actually when you start to realize that actually what I said just now, happiness is really just the absence of suffering. Sorry, happiness is the absence of suffering, but happiness is also really just the moment in between suffering, actually. And that if you have no happiness, it's an even higher pleasure than having happiness to begin with. So this is actually a gradual path. Yes, please go ahead.
Isn't it ironical? Because even in this jhana that you're talking about, it is supposed to be pleasurable. It's actually suffering.
Yes, it is. But it is a very, very refined suffering, actually. So until you get there, it is actually something to cultivate. And in fact, the Buddha actually did say that in one of the suttas that there are only four outcomes that can come from cultivating the four jhanas. And the four outcomes are stream reading, one's returner, non-returner, or full enlightenment. Yeah. So the Buddha actually did also say that these four jhanas is actually something that you should cultivate, right? Because it will lead to these four outcomes. And full enlightenment, right, the difference between the non-returner and the fully enlightened being is actually exactly that. The recognition that the four jhanas, right, themselves should be let go of at some point. But until you get there, right, cultivate that. Yeah. So you're right, exactly right, that actually the four jhanas actually is a form of that suffering. It's a very, very refined form of suffering, but it's almost as though like, how to say,
I'm referring to when you go into meditation, you crave for it, and that's where the suffering comes from.
No. This is beyond the craving already.
No, when you think that when you come out of it, then
yes.
you want to meditate, you want it again, then that's where the suffering comes. But that's what I'm referring to also.
So that is actually a causer suffering, a causer wanting. Yeah. But what I'm actually talking about is actually that even if, say, they're able to get into the four jhanas at will, right, where there's actually very, very, very little wanting at all. In fact, when you go through the jhanas and you come out, your mind is actually temporarily free from the desire altogether. Yeah. So I'm talking even about that extreme, right, where it's extremely refined, to use a coarse analogy, right, it would almost be as though that the one thing to get the jhanas, right, is like the shit stain on when you wipe your backside. And this one thing, this indulgence in the jhana, right, is almost as though that is the dirt that you just wipe off your face. It's really that degree of a difference. It's really a very big degree of difference of like how coarse it is, right? But even this is still a dirt. And that's actually what the Buddha is talking about. Yeah. But what you're referring to about the one thing to get into the jhanas,
also suffering, because every time you get, say, a lay person, if I get different jhana, say a first jhana, then if I get the other thing, it's suffering. Yes. You get the jhana and then you didn't get it, that's something. That's what I meant now.
Yes.
The jhana itself is a suffering.
Yes.
That's from that basis.
Yes.
One that right.
Yes. So what you're referring to is exactly that it is suffering. What I'm trying to say is that it's just a causer suffering actually. Whereas what I'm referring to right now is actually a much more refined suffering. So even in the state where you're able to let go of that one thing as you described, right? And in the state of the non-returners, they are able to get into the four jhanas whenever they want to. And that's something that I always struggled with when I read the suttas and I asked Ajahn Brahm this, like, how is it possible that the sutras describe it as the non-returner can get to the 4 jhanas at will. Because the jhanas are like letting go, right? So how can you like let go at will? Right? And I think that the description that Ajahn Brahm gave is the best analogy I've heard so far. And he said that actually what happens is that for a non-returner, the 4 jhanas, right, are the default off state of the mind. It's a bit like a computer, the default state is actually off. You need to have the effort to turn it on. And for the non-returner or even the arahants, right, if there's nothing happening, right, they will just happily go in and like just turn off. It requires an effort on their part, right, to actually talk, to think, and to like engage with the rest of us like the way that we normally do. Whereas for us, our default state is that we're so conditioned that we are just moving along and we're just like running along like a hamster on the wheel. Yeah. So that's actually the differences. I hope that answers the question. Yeah. So coming back to this, the very permanent letting go of, like I was saying, right, it's a very gradual process of like letting go, and it is a constant process of like letting go of like even more and more refined defilements, right? And once you reach the ultimate state, right, where you are completely like free of these defilements, right, then you're like the rock, where the wind will not move you, even the grossest defilements also will not touch you and move you at all. So that's one way to actually test whether somebody is fully enlightened or not, right? And the easiest way to know that somebody is not enlightened is to, when that person claims to be enlightened, you just hear what that person says. If they say, I am enlightened, right, the fact that they have an I already means like, salah already, right, wrong case already. And if you then challenge them and say, no, I don't believe they're enlightened, see what happens. If they then become very attached to their view and that they're insistent that, no, I am enlightened, they start getting angry, it's a confirm sure, no. Or if they start to engage with you, right, to try and explain why they think that they're enlightened, that's also a clear no. Right? And in fact, interestingly enough, right, when the Buddha, the suttas, right, for all the enlightened monks and nuns, when they talk about the enlightenment, they talk only of suffering arising and suffering passing away. They talk only exactly of that. That there's no I, it's just suffering arising and suffering passing away. And
the reference to enlightenment, is it the first stage or the higher level? When you use the term,
completely, yes, completely letting go of already. Yeah. So maybe it's also worthwhile to just talk here about like the 4 stages of enlightenment that I mentioned. Stream entry, once returner, non-returner, and full enlightenment. It is actually a very deep attainment, right, to just be a stream winner. A lot of people don't recognize that because they think, oh yeah, the Buddha like talk to people and then people like immediately become stream winners, so it should be Christian forward. But the fact is actually that stream winning really requires you to truly see that there is non-self. By that, right, I don't mean that it's an intellectual understanding that, oh yeah, right, there's no me, this is not mine, I'm not myself. But there's an actual, you see for yourself and you directly experience for yourself that there is no self. Right? And this actually implies that you have already seen the sequence of like causal sequences, right? And more importantly, right, that you've probably gotten to the stage of meditation where you can actually see your consciousness as a process. So actually it requires like, by logic or by inference, it requires you to actually see a lot of things that you will not be able to see if you are actually just like a normal person, as I described. So stream entry, right, the interesting thing is that the interesting thing about the Buddhist teachings is that once you hear them, you cannot unhear them. Meaning, and once you see something, you cannot unsee it. Meaning that once you actually see for yourself, you directly experience the jhanas, for example, right? And then further you cultivate it and you directly experience for yourself and you see that your consciousness, right, your mental consciousness, what you see as your mind, right, as yourself, right, is actually nothing more than just a reaction to causes that arise due to the environment around you, people saying things, people like doing things, maybe the color of the chair or anything, that causes a certain emotion or thought and perception to arise, and then they're passing away. And you see that repeatedly happening for yourself. Once you see that, that's when, as Ajahn Brahm describes it, the eject button has been pressed. And then you will come away realizing that there's no need. What I take to be myself actually is a mirage, it's a magician trick, as I described it in the last week. It is something that appears to be there, but actually is not. And that delusion is forever gone. It's in the same way that when there are all these, there are all these reports about people who claim they can do all these miracles. Right? There was this Israeli guy called Uri Geller, who claimed that he can bend stone. Interesting thing, right, is that he always claimed, right, that he could do it in front of the scientists, but he never was able to perform his miracles right, in front of an audience of magicians, professional magicians. And he always claimed that it's because that, the magicians have a very bad energy, I can't do it with that bad energy. And there's a magician who said that I think it's more because that he knows that we know the tricks of the trade. So they're always watching out for the tricks of the trade. It's in a similar way that once you're able to see for yourself that this consciousness, like this mind, right, is actually nothing more than a magician's trick. Right? You can't unsee it already. Next time that it happens, right, you will recognize it, and that's actually the eject button that's like here, is being pressed. And that will actually eventually, over time, right, lead you to full cessation. There's no turning back. Yeah.
Meditation, prerequisite for reaching this state, the path.
So there's an online forum on Sutta Central, and this is a very long topic of discussion. If you go strictly by first reading of like what the Buddha said, then no. There are people who listen to the Buddha the first time and then they immediately realize it. But I think that there's another school of thought that actually this requires, it's all cause and effect. Even if they have not actually meditated themselves, right, in that lifetime, they probably meditated in the previous lifetime to be able to realize it in this lifetime. Yeah. So
the prerequisite and levels.
Yeah, and by definition, actually, if you look at the Eightfold Path, right, the last three factors of right endeavor, right mindfulness, and right samadhi. Samadhi already implies that there's actually a meditation element to it. Yeah. So it's a very good question, and you're asking like very good questions. please keep it up. The Buddha had, the Buddha will talk also about. I'll talk about the fourth noble truth. Right? That's really what the Eightfold Path is. Right? So coming back to this topic, right, about this is a gradual path of like ever letting go, and the path, right, actually is just one of constant letting go in pursuit of actually ever higher and higher happinesses. That's really what the path is. So going back to it, right, and this is a really warning, right? If you ever hear people talk about, you need no pain, no gain on the Buddhist path, right? Be very cautious. Right? In fact, actually, somewhere in the suttas that I remember, the Buddha actually mentioned that his path is a path of ever increasing pleasure and joy. Right? The reason why that, and if you read also like the details of like what are the factors behind like say like tranquility and stillness, right? The Buddha talks about joy, and this is something that the Buddhist community doesn't talk enough about. But without the joy and the happiness, right, it's actually very hard for you to keep your mind on the meditation object. It's very hard for you to practice the path if you don't get any pleasure in it whatsoever. And in fact, one of the observations, right, in one of the suttas called the monuments of the Buddha, monuments of the Dharma, this king, I think it's King Bimbisara, right? Yeah. So he actually made the observation that when he visits the Sangha, all the monks are all like smiling, they're all like calm, they're all happy. In contrast, he compared it with other like disciples and other traditions where they were all like, he described them as like lean looking, unhappy, with like veins like popping up over their limbs. So you can hear that from this description really is a very different the path is about happiness, and the ultimate happiness that we're trying to get rid of is really that permanent state where we're actually free from this suffering, the mental suffering. So in addition to like the two short sutras that I described to you, right, those were Ajahn Brahma's translation. I'm just going to read to you a translation from Venerable Analayo. This is taken from the Chinese Dhammapada. I'll read the Chinese and then I'll give the translation as well. So this is the Chinese Dhammapada T210, stanza 15.7. So it's a 心以修行, and this, when the mind has become appeased, 言行依正, truncal too are the words and the deeds. 从正解脱, by being rightly liberated, 归机然归灭, one is still with complete peace as one's refuge. So when the mind has become appeased, like your words and your deeds are tranquil, and by being completely like rightly liberated, like, one is still with complete peace as like one's refuge. So this is actually a very beautiful, poetic, and if you understand Chinese, I thought the Chinese was like really quite poetic. This is in a very traditional Chinese poem trick. It's a very beautiful way of like describing how it is as though that you are, to use a worldly analogy, it is as though that you are sitting, when you're fully liberated, it's as though that you're sitting like in a mountain lake with no wants in the world, no desires, no unhappinesses, and everything is just calm, peaceful, and absolutely beautiful. That's really what cessation is really about. So now that I've actually increased your desire to like want to have this cessation, right? How do you actually like get rid of this one thing? Right? So yes, please go ahead.
Remember the fact that there is this Arahan, Guru Arahan. I think great disagreement over time.
Oh, great, sir.
Disagreement among themselves. I think 500 Arahan disagree on how the Dhamma should be passed down.
Which sutta is that?
After they pass away, there's this big chunk of Arahan, right?
Yes, the first council.
And the disagreement among that's why the council broke up.
Yeah.
So why is that possible when the Arahan still have disagreement?
So that is actually not canonical, meaning that that's actually not in the suttas. The description of the first council actually is passed down actually by the Sri Lankan commentaries, and that in turn is actually a copy of later works and later commentaries. And the commentaries are a bit of a mixed bag. Sometimes they will actually describe things that are in line with what the Buddha taught in the suttas, other times they're not. So in this case, I would actually say that a lot of the things that were put down in that description of the first council were added on actually much later after the actual passing of it. So I'm not sure whether you can fully trust that really did happen in that way, and hence you got the different sects and all that stuff. So that's actually one just to know.
So your answer is saying that it is not possible for Allah to argue, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So in fact, the fact actually is that even for the few times that Venerable Ananda, for example, in the Buddha's time, that he was reprimanded by other like before his enlightenment, because he was only enlightened like immediately after the Buddha's passing. When he was reprimanded by the Arahants, there was actually no disagreement on why he was reprimanded actually. Yeah. And amongst the enlightened Arahants, there is actually no record during the Buddha's time of like them ever arguing. Yeah. So we've been talking very much about like cessation. Like the ultimate happiness, is when you don't want anything in the world. You're perfectly happy and you're contented and at peace. So how do you get rid of this? Right? That's actually the fourth noble truth. Right? to the way leading to the cessation of this suffering. Right? And this is what the Buddha says. This again, Samyutta Nikaya 5611. There are these two extremes that should be avoided. The pursuit of happiness through the five senses, which is low, and the exact word in Pali used here is hina, which is like in hinayana, right? As is often described about the Theravada tradition. So the pursuit of happinesses through the five senses, which are low, they are vulgar. The way of worldlings, meaning that suren, as they say in Chinese, it's ignoble, not noble, it's unbeneficial. On the other extreme, right, we have the pursuit of practices that fatigue the body and mind, which are painful, ignoble, and unbeneficial. So those are the ascetic practices, things like starve yourself, and so on and so forth. Right? Without going to either of these extremes, right, the Buddha has awakened to the middle way, which gives rise to vision, which gives rise to wisdom, leading to peace, direct understanding, enlightenment, and nirvana. It is this noble Eightfold Path, which is right view, right motivation, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right endeavor, right mindfulness, and right stillness. This is that middle way awakened to by the Buddha, which gives rise to vision, which gives rise to wisdom, which leads to peace, direct understanding, to enlightenment, to nirvana. So, the question to ask everybody here, right, is that is it sufficient to... You often hear people say that, just be mindful and just be aware and that's enough. And then over time, you will be free from this, your anger will disappear. Is that the case?
They say yes, not the full enlightenment, but you can reduce the anger to this kind of peace.
Yeah.
That's why you have all these other meditation ways that
yeah.
One way seems like they're not focusing on the stress-free.
So what you're saying is that even with just mindfulness, it might not lead to full enlightenment, but it might lead to some reduction of anger and whatever, mindfulness-based stress reduction. It's true to a certain extent, but what the Buddha is also saying is actually that the way to get rid of anger fully, right, actually is the Eightfold Path. Yeah. It is actually not just mindfulness alone. And I think that my personal view is actually that in due time, right, we will probably see a lot of the dangers of just focusing on the one full path of mindfulness alone. And just because that actually is not holistic. Yeah. It doesn't incorporate the kindness and the gentleness, the letting go in the right motivation, right, the right intentions. And it doesn't also incorporate the ethics of it, keeping to the precepts, doing the right things, not killing and all that stuff. I think that's actually going to be the potential weakness of the mindfulness movement, so to speak. Yeah. But what the Buddha is saying also is actually that just mindfulness alone, right, is not enough. Actually, and this is not just here in the sutta. Repeatedly, the Buddha talks about how to get rid of desire, to get rid of anger. It's the Eightfold Path. That's again the reason why I keep talking about the Eightfold Path. So talking about the Eightfold Path, this is a Ajahn Brahm translation from the Dhammapada as well. The Noble Eightfold Path is the best of all practices. This is the only path for purifying insight. There is no other. Follow this path and you will discombobulate Mara. Ajahn Brahm knows the word discombobulate. Discombobulate means to... it literally means to like remove the head. So like you're a bit like a headless chicken running around kind of feeling, right? But I guess it also means like to confuse, right? To like to hinder. So this is actually what the Buddha said in the Dhammapada. Right? This is the only path actually. It is not the mindfulness alone. It's actually all 8 factors of the Eightfold Path. Right view, right motivation, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right endeavor, right mindfulness, important also, and right stillness, which she talks about. I'll talk about in the future. So in another sutta, again, the Buddha emphasizes this Majjhima Nikaya 139. The pursuit of pleasure that is linked to the five senses is low, vulgar, coarse, inward, and unbeneficial. That pursuit of that kind of pleasure is a state beset with suffering, with frustration, despair, and fever, and it is the wrong way. This engagement from the pursuit of pleasure of the five senses is a state without suffering, frustration, despair, fever, and it is the right way. So this is an important qualification because it means that actually how you walk on the Eightfold Path is also important. Right? If you walk on the Eightfold Path, right, actually, and you are completely like engrossed in the five sense world, like you are thinking about like when you are sitting there and you're meditating, like okay, I need to like meditate, I need to do my mindful. Then you start thinking about like I'm feeling hungry, I would like to eat. Maybe I should have this for lunch. Maybe you should think about what would we have for dinner, which my wife will confess I think about a lot also my normal times. Yeah, maybe you should have that Vietnamese for dinner, but that's very clearly the wrong way already. Now, if I were to ask another more nuanced question, right? If you're involved in a Buddhist society, right? Say you're involved in like Buddhist fellowship or Buddhist federation or any other Buddhist society, and you're planning an event, right? Say it's a Vesak Day, like very big, right? Huge money like earners for all these like Buddhist societies, right? And then you start getting into like arguments that happen between people. What kind of thought is that? Is it a thought related? What kind of thoughts are those? Are they related to Dharma or are they related to the five sense world?
It's more towards the five sense than towards the Dharma.
Why do you say that? Why do you say there's more towards the five sense than the Dharma?
Plan the Vesak Day is commemorating the Buddha's it's a very low thing. Isn't that part and parcel of the Dharma to commemorate? But then this argument was certain money is not that money already all five senses. That's how I look at it.
Okay, so you're saying that the intention to commemorate the Buddha as a noble one is a good one, and that's like related to the Dharma. But when they're fighting over the money or whatever it is, then that's actually the five sense world. Yeah. So I would say that that's absolutely spot on. I would say that that's actually entirely right. I'll actually even go to the extreme that if you ask yourself the question of like, how do you commemorate the Buddha? Organizing an event, right, is actually almost entirely the five sense world bucket. If you read about what the Buddha says, like how you should walk the Eightfold Path, right, he talks about actually you should withdraw from the five sense world. So, if I were to compare, right, I'm drawing like false comparisons just for illustration. If I were to compare somebody, right, who, I'm like a very active committee member, I organize like these events, I organize this and so on and so forth, but comparing that with somebody who disengages from that completely and all day long just, does his work, go back home, meditate, does his work, go back home, meditate, keeps to 8 precepts or 10 precepts or whatever it is, keeps entirely the evil path, has the right intentions, this away, do everything. Who is commemorating the Buddha more? Okay. Sorry? The second one. Right. Why do you say that? Pay respect. Yeah, you see the Dharma, you see the Buddha. Yeah. And what it's also saying also is that the Buddha did also say that to be his heir, we should all be his heir of the Dharma, meaning that to practice what he does, right, and not be the heir to his material things. So things like relics and all that, it's actually all five sense world. The Buddha is not in the Buddha relic in New Delhi in the museum or anything like that. The Buddha is not in Bodh Gaya or anything like that. The Buddha is actually the Dharma.
So actually, I think this declaration thing is organizing participating in some also me.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you say because the second person is following the Dharma strictly, but he's not really propagating the Dharma, so to speak. He does in a very smaller scale way. Whereas this sort of event propagate the Dharma in a much wider context. So that's what you're trying to say. That if you look at it, then you don't know because the parent goes to pass down to that to basically then expose the Dharma. This person, you look at it, you don't know what he's doing. It might be something that you don't see. That's what I think I understand this point.
Yeah. So to summarize the session so far, we're saying that it is necessary to also organize events because that will actually be a way to propagate, to let people be exposed to the Dharma and all that. And that it's not just and that the person who focuses and practices by himself, it's a very small scale way of doing so. And you might be able to still propagate the Dharma in a very small scale way. I'm going to say this is just my personal view, right? I think that the world has focused too much on the Dharma propagation part and not enough on actual practice. And if you ask me, we need to actually focus more on the actual practice. And in this day and age where everything is like readily available on the internet, you can download podcasts, you can have Ajahn Brahm in your ear if you just like plug in your earphones all the time. And actually do that. That actually is what is lacking in this world right now. We actually have more than enough money floating around to all the temples. There are more than enough Buddha statues, golden temples and Dharma propagation events and all that. But if I were to throw back a question to ask also, right, which is more convincing? To meet somebody who, no matter what happens to that person, right, absolutely is of no anger whatsoever. Or to meet somebody who hands you a pamphlet and tells you that, oh, this is the Buddha Dharma, it's very good and so on and so forth. Then he turns around and starts shouting at somebody else. Hey, why you never bring me the water? Blah, blah, blah. Which is more powerful, right? and I think that the Buddha also did mention before that a person who frees himself of all the defilements, right, actually gives a gift to the world. It's in the same way that when you actually keep your 5 precepts, when you're actually giving the gift of non-harm to all the living beings that you come across, because you have got no intention to kill them, or to harm them, or affect them, or to lie, or whatever it is. So that is only if you keep, and that's like at the more surface level of like 5 precepts. Right? Can you imagine somebody who's like fully enlightened? There's a reason that even though like somebody like Ajahn Chah, who by most descriptions is probably fully enlightened, was fully enlightened before he passed away. There's a reason why even though he was in this obscure corner of northeast Thailand, whole of Bangkok was going, like the king of Thailand was like throwing money at him for his funeral and like for him to be like kept alive for 9 years after his stroke.
I agree with you to a certain extent, but I still feel personally you need both to progress together. One, this person meditating and doing that, I think they're called frequency holders.
Sorry?
Frequency holders.
Frequency holders.
These are people who propagate the Dharma in very subtle ways, not next. But you need this other path where you have people like Ajahn Brahm to teach and propagate. So the teaching is also that form of ceremonial type of things. See, every time you come to the whole new brain, he's the pop star kind of very famous thing. So by right, it shouldn't be like that. You need him so that people will come.
Yes.
So I still think that you have this without this, it's not good enough.
It's cause and effect, right? I think that you're confusing cause you're confusing the effect with cause. The reason why Ajahn Brahm is such a good teacher is because he did the first thing first. He was actually a very serious meditator. There was a talk that I listened to where there was one of the former presidents of the BSWA was introducing Ajahn Brahm to the audience, and he said that when Ajahn Brahm first was sent by Ajahn Chah to Australia, at the point in time, Bodhinyana Monastery's abbot was Ajahn Jagaro. And Ajahn Jagaro turned to this, I think his name is Dennis Shepherd or something like that, and he said, Ajahn Jagaro said, you will like Ajahn Brahm because he's a monk's monk. Yeah, and he had the reputation even amongst the Wat Papong and Wat Pananachat community he dealing with. So I think that I'm not saying that it is not important for that, but we have to ask ourselves what is the cause and what is the effect. And I actually would argue the world right now is very focused on what we can see.
Really imagine Ajahn Brahm take the second half. I mean, this guy doesn't want to teach, just want to meditate and let people see. You can have a better effect.
I think it's very hard to say.
I mean, he just doesn't bother about teaching and coming off this stay in level and just meditate every day like this other second guy. The effect will be very minimal.
Yes, but my point is actually not to say that. My point is actually to say that if you think about like the cause that you're talking about, right, the cause and the effect of somebody who is a powerful and influential teacher, how did that teacher come about?
Yeah, first you must
that's right.
attain that. But then you need the propagation part
yes. But the cause is that, you see.
Yeah,
whereas if you only have the effects, where you only have monks who are only organizing events, it doesn't. That's my point. If you go back to the cause and the effect and sequence, right, actually it's important to focus on that. And that's actually why I think that I feel that the community overall has been very focused on the effects, not so much on the causes, and that the attention is a bit of a balance. And I'm not saying that you don't do the latter. I'm saying that my personal view is just that the focus for most people have been on the let's organize events, let's organize a Dharma propagation and so on and so forth. When I think that the focus should be more on helping people to actually practice better. I think that the best person who has characterized this, right, is probably Brother Tan from Malanda in Malaysia. Because I actually heard him say this one time that I thought was actually a very thought-provoking thought. He said that every Buddhist society, right, is actually duty-bound to help every member of the society to actually at least go towards the path of stream entry. So he's actually trying to go from that, we don't just organize, it's not just Dharma propagation for Dharma propagation. It's actually about how we do that and what's the intent. It's actually going back to that point. So I think that's actually what I'm also trying to do. And this day and age where everything is on the internet, actually we should be trying to encourage everyone to practice rather than like just, let's do more like fundraisers, like build more temples and that stuff. That's very much like 5 cents world in many ways. Yeah. But thanks very much for your questions. If I were to just take a pause here and just talk about like how. Sorry, I'm trying to look at my notes. So we have been talking for the past few weeks about the first factor of the Eightfold Path, which includes the Four Noble Truths. And the first factor of like right view includes things like the Four Noble Truths, which I've already covered. It includes things like cause and effect, right? The fact that you originated because of causes, you are the owner of your causes, and as a result of which anything that happens to you, actually you have that control and that responsibility, meaning that you can actually do something about whatever suffering that you face. Right? It's entirely within your realm of control. So we talk about like cause and effect, we talk about that. We have also talked about how the most common cause of suffering is actually the 5 components of existence. Your body, the experience, the Vedana, which is often translated as a feeling, your perception, right, your will, as well as your consciousnesses associated with the 6 consciousnesses. And why we are looking at these is because that the physical form as well as the 4 components of the mind are often mistaken for, we often mistake those as ourselves. That there's something constant there that is moving along from moment to moment, that is reborn, and that's ourselves. And it's this sense of self that actually causes the suffering, right? So, and then we talk about like how the 4 Noble Truths, that the suffering is to be fully understood. And the second Noble Truth, the one thing is actually what causes the suffering. And that one thing, the third noble truth is to be actually like fully let go of, right? To let it cease. And then how you actually like develop on the Eightfold Path. Right? So the coming week actually we will talk about how we've covered right view, and right view is we've covered only like these parts of like right view. Right? It's not important for us to go into things like dependent origination and all that, because that's actually like very complicated, and it's best left to a later stage after you have gotten some deeper meditation experience. Now, practically speaking, next week we'll cover right motivation, and that is actually the most important part I feel of the whole Eightfold Path. Ajahn Brahm has once called this the heart of the entire Eightfold Path. We've already covered right view, right, and you already know the basics of that. After you already formed that view, right, the important thing is actually that what do you do with that? And the translation from that view to action, right, by body, speech, and mind, right, depends very much on this motivation and intention. Because as we covered in the cause and effect part, motivation and intention is karma. When you intend to do something, right, that actually plants the seeds for how that karma will actually benefit you. You cannot plant a bitter gourd seed and expect it to taste like mangoes, right? It doesn't work that way, right? And you cannot plant a mango seed and expect it to like have something that comes out like a mango. Yeah. So that intention is the seed that we're planting, and right intention, right? The three factors of right intention are very frequently overlooked. And we can go back to this next week when we talk about like right intention. But it's linked to our discussion just now about like why people fight. Right. Like we said just now, a lot of times people have the best of intentions. They want to commemorate the Buddha. We'll try to unpack it next week, but the distinction we need to make is between good intentions, right, and right intentions. The two are not the same. Yeah. So we'll cover that next week. Then after right intention, I think next week's after that we'll cover the rest of the Eightfold Path. But I think we'll spend more time, maybe less time on the intermediate three parts, right, of like right speech, right action, right livelihood. Unless we want to have a longer discussion. But we'll try to focus more on the last three in the coming weeks, which is right endeavor, right mindfulness, and right stillness and samadhi. So that's pretty much like all I have for today. Are there any like further questions or thoughts that we have?
I think I'd rather you ask this.
Yeah. You have a question? Yeah.
There are people who do not crave. I mean, you already removed the craving, but they can still enjoy the five senses. That means when it's present, you enjoy. But if it's not present, they do not crave. They're still very craveless. So how do you characterize this type of? Is it right or is it wrong? That means they're actually enjoying the five senses, but do not crave. How do you characterize this sort of people?
Can you elaborate a little bit about these people?
For example, if they enjoy the fish, that's but they don't crave for it. If it's not there, they are very craving. They enjoy eating the food is fun, but they don't crave. That's a simple. They don't crave. So how do you characterize this type of people?
How to characterize this kind of people?
Are they doing the correct thing or they're not doing the correct thing?
It's just like how Ajahn Brahm enjoys his milk tea and bacon.
Yeah, correct.
But he doesn't crave for it.
Yeah, so
correct.
Is it the correct thing to do?
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Yeah. The wrong thing that arises would be when you start to the craving, the wanting for it, right? And it starts to obsess your mind. Yeah. But if it's something that when it arises, if it happens, you're happy, you enjoy it. If it doesn't happen, you're also okay. And there's no one thing that arises that causes that suffering that, I don't have my bus form.
Yeah, that's really right. So, this is Arhan, then Arhan will be there. So, I like to say, follow-up question. Means when I'm Arhan, can actually enjoy the food.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. Actually, I think that if you experience some of the deeper states, right, you come out of it, right, you will realize that actually the five senses, right, is almost like you are enjoying the five sense world, right, in steroids. Like whatever you taste, right, will be the most wonderful taste ever. And whatever you see, right, is like you can be staring at something that looks like completely normal to everybody else, right? You just be like staring at it and wow, this is fantastic. And you just be staring at that for ages. And that's simply because that your mind is free of the defilements actually. Yeah.
But the ironical part of it is they tended to think that when you eat, you have to reflect that you don't enjoy our food, you're not supposed to indulge in our food, we just mainly do it for keep our body healthy to continue practice. So this is not in line with what we discussed where you want to enjoy the food. When you eat, there's a reflection in front of you. Mind you that you really enjoy the food.
Which retreat is this?
My job is a retreat.
I see.
Usually there's a big thing in front of you to ask you to recite this very quick, mentally that. To enjoy it.
Yeah.
So not like it, contradictory to what you just said, is it?
So the enjoyment will happen regardless of the piece of paper. If you are actually getting
to enjoy, that's why I'm saying that.
No,
to reflect and not to enjoy it. Not
yes.
supposed to enjoy it. Just eat it to sustain it, but not to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it's contradictory.
So that is actually the okay. Maybe let me just like try and see whether I can answer your question in this way. My understanding about what you're describing, that there's a piece of paper that asks you to reflect on like not enjoying too much of the food, right? It is the retreat organizers are probably trying to help the retreatants, which are normal people like you and me, right, who overindulge in the five senses, to withdraw from it. Now, in contrast, when somebody is fully enlightened, right, even if they are, and they will actually have exactly that motivation when they eat. They are not motivated to eat to enjoy. They're not going to eat, right, just because I want to enjoy the meal. But the enjoyment will happen regardless of that, because their minds are free of the defilements. Yeah. The arahants are motivated to eat, right, simply just to sustain the body, and the body is just that. It's exactly as it's described in the paper. But they also enjoy it regardless. Yeah. So that's actually what I don't know whether that helps to answer the question.
Yeah. Maybe what you're trying to say is that you don't crave to enjoy it, but when you eat it, the joy flows into it.
That's right. It will happen regardless.
The joy will flow into you. Don't eat and derive enjoyment, but
yes, that's right. The motivation is different.
Joy just flow into
yes, that's right. Yes. Yeah. So the motivation for eating is different. And I think that the motivation for that retreatants, the reminder, the reflection, right, is really to help you to go away, to shift your motivation from like, oh, I want to eat X, Y, Z, to actually shifting away from that. Yeah. Whereas the arahant wouldn't have that intention to like, oh, I want to eat bak chor mee or anything to begin with, right? Yeah.
Another question.
But in fact, in the Sutta, the four nutriment, the Buddha actually gives quite a wisdom this terminology of
yes.
eating food is like some like a couple that's traveling to the desert and then is running out of food.
Right.
So kill is the only sign. Because of survival, we just eat out of survival, not out of enjoyment.
Yes.
So that's how we describe it for practitioner.
Yes. No, so that's exactly what I'm trying to say, that the starting point of the motivation why you eat for the enlightened beings is different. It's exactly as for the paper, that it is just a fuel. But my point is actually that when your mind is free from defilements, right, even if your motivation is just as a fuel, right, you will still enjoy it. It is an unavoidable outcome of the fact that your mind is free from defilements. If I were to just draw an analogy, right, I think maybe you can observe this when you're having lunch later, right, and maybe like dinner. So when you eat your lunch, right, just pay attention to the lunch and just see how you observe the enjoyment. Then in dinner time, right, before dinner or during dinner, right, pick a fight with your loved one and eat at the same time. And see whether you observe and whether you enjoy the food as much. I guarantee you, the later part, right, the food has got no taste whatsoever. And that is just like for us, right, the normal degree of like mindfulness, right? And you can really see that the perception of the enjoyment of that is really very different. Now, if you extrapolate that, right, for Arahant is completely free from all divine empowerments whatsoever, the enjoyment will be even more so. And that's the reason why Ajahn Brahm, when he talks about like how he went to Jhana Grove and he like just came up from a very long meditation, and then he took a dump, then he turned around and he's just like staring at his shit, and he's like, wow, what a fantastic piece of shit. It's because that the mind is free from defilements. And that's why everything is beautiful, everything is like wonderful. In fact, actually just a couple of weeks ago, or I think maybe last month, there was another monk in Ajahn Brahm's monastery, Venerable Nito. I can't remember his number what in the monastery now. So he was describing about how when he was still a lay person, he went to a meditation retreat. And he said that towards the end of the meditation retreat, he sat down, so it was actually in this very old hostel. And he said that every day he would wake up and he just stare at this row of like trees outside his window. And he said, this is the most amazing, beautiful sight. He said that the leaves, every single leaf was just like so luminescent and so beautiful and fantastic, right? And so he felt compelled to go out and to sit and just enjoy the sights. And so he went there and he said that there was like this little depression in the ground. So he sat there and he just sat there and just stared at the trees for an hour. And he said that it was fantastic. It was like the most perfect scene. It was like as though that he described it that it's as though that the whole was designed entirely from the bottom, like it's like a memory foam kind of thing that completely fits in. It's just so comfortable. Just sat there for an hour. Fast forward a few weeks later, he happened to pass by the same place. And he said, wow, I'm going to see that tree and I'm going to experience that again. So he went back to the same exact spot. And he said that the first thing that struck him as he was approaching the trees was like, did somebody like uproot the trees and kill them off or something like that? Because it's completely different. And then when he sat down at that same exact spot, he was like, wow, it's extremely uncomfortable. Like it's very cold, there are a lot of rocks actually. It's completely like not what you experience at all. And then that's when you realize that the only difference where actually it's the same exact trees, same exact hole that you're in depression on the ground. The only difference is his mind. And when your mind is free from defilements, you experience the five sense world in a very different way. And that's actually something you experience once you actually. So this is actually what that whole bliss or cessation is about. When you actually let go completely of that one thing, you will experience the world in that way. And it's an unavoidable thing. Even if your motivation is just that it's a fuel, I'm just going to take a fuel. But when you take the first mouthful of that food, you'll be like, wow, this is fantastic. It's better than anything else I've tasted. But it's just a fuel. Yeah.
If I'm surprised you did not use the example where you're going to the desert and you go to the sun to eat, but isn't that giving the worst kind of karma you can create? I don't know why you gave that kind of analogy.
It gave us an analogy of like how you should view food as actually a nutriment that is a necessity.
But why you give your son to eat, you don't eat the fire?
I think that one you have to read the sutta to understand the context of it. I can't remember the exact sutta. Do you remember the sutta? The exact sutta. I remember reading
all
that.
one nutriment. The first one is on food, and the second one is on feeding.
Yeah.
The analogy about feeding is like calm or something that is fresh in air.
Yeah, that's right.
Of life.
Yeah.
Attack.
Yeah.
It's constantly having these irritations.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that contact will be one of the nutriments as well. Yeah, I can't remember.
Consciousness.
Yeah, consciousness as well.
That's the one that humans dragging.
Yeah. That's right, the whole pit. That's right. Yeah. So the Buddha uses a lot of similes and analogies terminologies, and you will have to read the sutta and also read some of the comparisons to be able to understand some of these better. Yeah. And sometimes actually some of the similes, right, make absolutely no sense at all until you experience it through the meditation. Then you will see that, wow, it totally makes a lot of sense. The one that I think is very powerful is actually the simile of the five khandhas, or the five components of existence. And the body as a lump of foam, experience as a raindrop. And I thought that was actually extremely powerful because raindrop in a rainstorm actually is what he described it. I thought that was actually very powerful. When I first heard that described to me, I was actually on pilgrimage. And the lady who talked about it, she's now actually a bhikkhuni in Dhammasara. And she talked about how she encouraged everybody. She said that, when we have our meal, right, just eat the food, just experience it and see how that was like. And you will notice that actually the taste, the flavor is, as the Buddha described it, when you swallow the food, right, it tastes very good for a split second and then it's gone. You chew further, right, actually there's no taste already, it's just the texture, there's nothing else. And the same thing with smell. You smell something, right, I'm sure when you enter the room, you probably smell a bit of the scent of the floor cleaner that used to mop the floor, right? But what do you smell now? You smell now, right? Really gone. And that's the same thing for every single kind of experience, and it actually extends beyond that to your own history, your own work experience, your own life experience. It's actually just like a bubble in a rainstorm. It will just disappear into it. The Buddha will use similes like this, that it requires a lot of reflection, it requires experience sometimes to understand that. So like the one on like consciousnesses as a magic trick, that one requires you to actually be able to see consciousness for yourself. And that requires you to at least get one of the jhanas, to be able to truly understand and see consciousnesses as they evolve.
One more final question.
Yes, yeah.
Just now you talk about aesthetic practice and the person who finds that practice, right?
Yes. Yes.
But I heard that Ajahn Chah has got this Tudong still continuing Tudong practice, which is actually an aesthetic practice.
Yeah.
So how seems to be contradicting what you have just said.
Yeah, thank you very much for asking that question. So when we had a private dinner commemorating Ajahn Chah on Thursday. And when I gave the introduction to Ajahn Chah, I said exactly that. Ajahn Chah is famous for two things. One is the Tudong, not Tudong, I can't remember what it is, Pullman or something like that, the ascetic practices. The other one that he was famous for is actually keeping to the Vinaya. And when I gave that opening and then I passed the mic to Ajahn Brahm, the first words out of Ajahn Brahm is that, yes, people might say that about Ajahn Chah, but what always stuck in his head, right, was how Ajahn Chah impressed him, right, and left a memory not for the ascetic practices or the Vinaya, but actually for his wisdom and his kindness. And Ajahn Brahm also indirectly was giving a warning of interpreting too much of what we read from Ajahn Chah. And he said this with two examples. One was actually that during the Thursday talk, he actually, it's on YouTube by the way, so when for commemorating Ajahn Chah. One thing that, the first thing is actually that after Ajahn Chah died, the disciples all gathered together and they were talking about what did Ajahn Chah teach and what did he not teach. And eventually, all of them got into this, there were many arguments that broke out. No, Ajahn Chah taught this. No, Ajahn Chah actually taught that, and so on and so forth. And there was Ajahn Jagaro who then stopped the fight by saying that every one of us has our own Ajahn Chah, and every one of us, is right. Yeah. So, and it's also incorrect, right? Because all you will see is the elephant and the blind man, right? You're only touching one part of the elephant. So that's one part of that. The other thing is actually about Ajahn Brahm was indirectly giving a warning about the focus on the ascetic practices. So So he said that there was this fellow monk of his, right, who at one time, right, decided to do all the ascetic practices that the Buddha prescribed. So not sleeping while lying down, wearing black robes. I can't remember what else, but it's a very, very austere set of practices that in the Buddha's time it was Venerable Mahakassapa who was actually the leader and foremost in these ascetic practices. So this monk, this Western monk read that, right, and was so inspired that he decided to do exactly that. He wanted to be a Mahakassapa, right? And while Ajahn Chah was visiting Wat Pananachai, this monk, for the one and only time in his whole life, had an epileptic fit, and he fell off the platform where they have for the monastics, fell down, cut his head, blood all over the place. And Ajahn Chah then went to him and said, "What have you been doing?" And then this monk then said, "Oh, I've been doing all these ascetic practices." And Ajahn Brahm shared during that Thursday talk, said that Ajahn Chah then said, "You Westerners, we don't understand the point of all these ascetic practices. These ascetic practices are meant for you to let go. It's not for you to strive and do more." Yeah. So this is something that I think is a very important point, right? Because in many ways, Singapore culture is not too different from the Western culture. We try and do more, we try and attain more. And I think in the Buddhist circles, there's also a sense of, I get a sense that there's a certain degree of like spiritual materialism, like, oh, I'm more austere than you. Oh, this guy's going to like 5-star resorts for retreats, not real retreats. Oh, these guys I'm better, I sleep on the floor. Oh no, I'm even better than that. I only sleep on the floor and I've got no mattress at all, and so on and so forth. And there's the mindset that when we meditate or we practice, we need to do more. Oh, I don't have the first jhana, I have the second jhana. Oh, second jhana is nothing, you should go for third jhana. Oh, third jhana is nothing, I can recollect my past lives, and so on and so forth. That is exactly the same kind of mindset that this Western monk did. Let me try and do more. Let me try and get more done, right, so I can get a higher attainment, so to speak. And it's exactly not that. And Ajahn Chah has repeatedly said, and this is actually even in the writings, that we meditate to let go, not to gain things. Yeah. And it's the same thing, it's not just meditation, it's actually the whole path, right? The path of letting go. Renunciation is actually a very key part of the intention. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
I know asceticism also is a way of letting go, but you don't go to the extreme of practicing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So even asceticism, right, if you do it to the extent that you actually Ajahn Brahm has got other examples from the Western monks who did all these ascetic practices. So there's another monk that he described that he read the Buddha, made a vow to like stay under the Bodhi tree until he's fully enlightened. So he decided to do the same thing. And he ended up having to do a double knee reconstruction. Right, and it's just stupidity actually. So we have to be very careful when we read about like that. In fact, I think that the best advice actually comes from the Buddha himself, right, where he talks about it's not the ascetic path and it's not the indulgence path, it's actually the middle way. Yeah. And indulgence, right, actually he's talking about indulgence of the 5 senses. He's not talking about indulgence of jhanas and all that stuff. So indulgence in meditation, by all means go ahead. It's actually a prerequisite in the path, right? To actually, when you get into the deeper states, right, then you start to move away from the 5 sense world. Yeah. So meditate more. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions you all might have? So it's about 12 o'clock, and I think that the timing is just nice because the rain is kind of like died down. So thanks for avoiding the rain with me. Thanks for coming today. Okay, thank you.